As NATO launches the Eastern Sentry operation, Poland was forced to scramble its fighter jets today following the threat coming from Russian drones operating over western Ukraine. Also, Romania had its airspace violated during a Russian attack on Ukraine today. So joining me to discuss the situation and the state of readiness of NATO forces is Elisabeth Braw, Senior Fellow with the Atlantic Council's Transatlantic Security Initiative. Good evening, madam, and thank you for being with us again. Good to see you.
Good evening.
So, are we ready to respond? What's your assessment of the NATO's preparedness?
Well, I think what we've seen this week is an extraordinary show of quick and firm response by Poland, but also by other NATO allies. So if we look at what happened, drones entered Polish airspace. Poland immediately responded by shooting them down. And we also saw, for example, Netherlands coming to Poland's aid. We also then saw statements by a number of leaders from within NATO, heads of state, heads of government, and then Germany and France decided to move more aircraft in the direction of Poland. In the case of France, into Poland. In the case of Germany, it moved them to Rostock, which is obviously near the Polish border. So an extremely, I think, impressive response. And if we look at this incident, what seems to have been Russia's intention was to test NATO's resolve, and the response from the alliance, Poland and other countries, was to act firmly and swiftly. So I think the Russians got their answer.
All right, so all that has been resumed by Russia to a Polish hysteria. But is it really a resolve that NATO is presenting, or rather a public reassurance? That's according to some experts. So what should be a more resolved response? What would you expect? Is it the optimal response to Russia?
Well, so the first thing to say is we don't know why the drones crossed into Polish airspace. The Russians say it was unintentional. Then there is the interpretation or the assessment that it can't have been an accident to have that many drones fly into Polish airspace. But it really doesn't matter what caused them to fly into Polish airspace. What mattered is that they entered Polish airspace. And what also matters is that Poland shot them down when they entered Polish airspace. And so that is what you expect from your armed forces, that they neutralize any threats entering the country. And that is what Poland did, backed up by NATO allies. So in terms of response, I don't know what else Poland could have done. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is this was a relatively small incident, even though it was numerous drones, but it was not exactly a full-scale attack of any kind. So if the next step, or if Russia at some point tries something more major or more severe than this, then Poland will be tested again if Poland is a targeted country. But whichever country it is, it will be tested, and as will the rest of NATO. But on this occasion, I think we should have no complaints about the way Poland and its allies responded.
All right. No one got injured, no one got killed. But at the same time, Donald Trump, the US president, characterizes this incident as possible mistake. What's your opinion about the response on the part of our major partner in NATO?
So it seems that Donald Trump is discovering the way the Russians operate, which is that they conduct activities of a wide range, and often it's impossible for the targeted country to establish, let alone prove, that it was done intentionally. And that's what we have seen now for the past 2 years in the Baltic Sea. We have had repeated suspicious incidents involving shadow vessels or other vessels linked to Russia and undersea cables and pipelines. And each time the NATO allies in the region have made the assessment that it could have been intentional. And by the way, the trial of the crew of such a vessel has just concluded in Helsinki. But the problem is it's almost impossible to prove that it was intentional. That's the way Russia operates across the board, whether it's arson attacks, whether it's parcel bombs, whether it's incidents involving undersea cables and pipelines, or whether it's drones. We can say we think it was Russia, but it's almost impossible to prove. And I think that is what caused President Trump to maybe doubt that it was intentional. But what matters is that the harm was done. Those drones entered Polish airspace. And again, Poland acted resolutely so that the harm was disabled for this time.
All right, so let me now jump to the letter issued to NATO countries and the world, as Donald Trump put it on Truth Social. I am ready to do major sanctions on Russia when all NATO nations have agreed and started to do the same thing, and when all nations stop buying oil from Russia. So is Donald Trump setting like an impossible demand for NATO, given what we know that, for instance, Hungary and Slovakia are still relying hugely on Russian gas? Is it a condition that Trump knows cannot be met?
Well, we don't know how much he knows about European energy imports from Russia, but I think the challenge for European countries with this letter is that sometimes Trump seems minded to establish. It seems that he wants to establish more friendly relations with Vladimir Putin. That certainly seemed to be the case before and during the Alaska summit. And then on days like this, he wants to be firm with Russia and then asks European allies to back that up. And it's very hard for European allies to know where he is going to go on any given day. And these are major policies that they have to adjust if they're going to match whatever it is the States wants to do vis-a-vis Russia. And I think that changing tone from Washington, which can change from one day to the next, makes it really hard for European countries, the EU and the European part of NATO, to match whatever it is the US wants to do. There are a number of countries in the EU, within NATO, that might be willing and able to curtail Russian energy imports even more than they already have. But then they need to know that is going to be the US goal tomorrow, a month from now, a year from now.
Exactly. Not a week even has passed since Polish president heard in Washington that the US would help Poland defend itself. But today's letter seems to point out that Trump isn't planning to drive sanctions against Russia. So what should Poland do in this respect, and how can we respond to it? And what can NATO do in regard to this letter?
What we've seen in the past couple of years is that the European members of NATO, and most especially the Baltic Sea countries that are members of NATO, which is every Baltic Sea country except Russia today, these countries have come together and enhanced their collaboration in a very impressive way. So in 2023, with the cable incidents and pipeline incidents that took place then, it was a pretty the response was not successful. Since then, the countries in the region have managed to build cooperation, maritime naval cooperation, that has allowed them to patrol, look after the Baltic Sea, to the point where now for the past several months, there hasn't been a single incident. I think that is an important lesson, and one that can be learned from. And also it sends a clear signal that European countries, in this case, the Baltic Sea countries, including Poland, are looking after themselves on their own and are doing so successfully. Obviously, it's never going to be the complete answer, but what they are doing now in the Baltic Sea is impressive and is having an effect.
Thank you so much, Elisabeth Braw, for sharing your expertise with us tonight. We're looking forward to talking to you very soon. Thank you so much for staying with us tonight. And thank you for watching TVP World. Please stay tuned for more news and more commentaries to come.